Chapter 29. Eyes Without Pity. Elias set a hard and fast pace to make up for the time spent with Tuathan. He only allowed them to use fallen twigs and branches for firewood, to minimize their trail, and once the food was cooked, the embers were immediately buried. Each morning he checked their camp to make sure it looked as if it never existed. Perrin knew the wolves sensed no Trollocs, but still they pushed on. Even when the land became rolling hills, Elias made them follow the contours of the land, yet complained about the pace. "You know how long this is taking? Going around every bloody little hill like this? Blood and ashes, it'll be summer getting you off my hands. No, we can't just go in a straight line. You have any idea how a man stands out on the ridgeline in country like this? Burn me, but we're going back and forth as much as forward. I could move faster with my feet tied." Perrin and Egwene exchanged looks, then she stuck her tongue out at Elias's back. When she pointed out that they weren't the ones insisting they go around the hills, he growled a lecture at them about sound carrying, which could have been heard a mile off. Elias searched their surroundings constantly, finding nothing, and neither did the wolves. He would not explain why they must hurry or what he thought was hunting them. When the ridges became too large to bypass, Elias made them wait at the foot of the slope, while he crawled to the top to scout that it was safe ahead. Perrin wondered why he did this. The wolves would warn them of any danger. Each time they waited felt like hours, and Egwene nervously fingered the beads that Aram had given her. When the coast was clear, Elias would motion for them to follow. At the third ridge, Perrin's stomach twisted and insisted on joining Elias, who agreed. When Egwene jumped down from Bella, Elias asked how she was going to get the mare to crawl. At the top of the ridge, Perrin saw nothing untoward, just more of the same terrain. The wolves had already scouted ahead and reported nothing, so what was he looking for? Just as he told Elias that they were wasting time, a flock of almost 100 ravens burst out of the trees. Perrin froze. They were the Dark One's eyes. Had they seen them? The flock veered to the south and disappeared over the next rise. Then a second flock broke from the east to join them. He asked Elias if that was what he was afraid of, and why didn't the wolves warn them? Elias growled, "Wolves don't look in trees much, and no, I wasn't looking for this. I told you. I don't know what." He broke off as another flock joined the first from the west. Elias remarked that thank the light it wasn't a big hunt, shocking Perrin, who said they wouldn't see that many ravens in a year back home. Shaking his head, Elias explained, "In the Borderlands I've seen sweeps of 1,000 ravens to a flock. Not too often. There's a bounty on ravens there, but it has happened. Now, hush." Perrin felt the distant reaching of the wolves, and Elias told them to stop scouting ahead and return to check their back trail. He heard the order, "Hurry, watch the sky, hurry." The reply came faintly, "We come," and an image flashed in his head of wolves running, muzzles pointing into the wind as if chased by wildfires. Elias was tired with the strain of trying to reach the pack over such a distance, and slumped. Perrin asked if there could be more ravens behind them. Elias replied that there may be, but he knows a place they can shelter if they can reach it by dark. They can't go as fast as he'd like, in case they get too close to the ravens. Perrin was confused. Why dark, and how would this place be safe from ravens? Elias remarked that it may be safe from the flocks, but many people know of it too. But hopefully ravens will be all they'll have to deal with. Ravens roost at night, so even if they haven't reached it by sunset, they'll keep on going. Rushing down the hill, they collected Egwene and Bella, telling her of the ravens whilst they moved. Elias insisted on scouting the next ridge, and again, Perrin joined him. They spotted a fox run into a clearing from the trees, and ravens spilled from the branches like a black whirlwind upon the beast. The fox tried snapping at them, but eventually it was overwhelmed, pecked until it was torn apart, leaving a bloody lump on the ground. The flock whirled to the south. Perrin swallowed hard, realizing that they could do that to them. Elias waved Egwene to join them, and ordered that they run to the trees beyond the clearing. Egwene's face paled at the sight of the fox's remains. Perrin stumbled before reaching cover and was spotted by a lone raven, which flew off to call to the rest of the flock. Before Perrin could reach his sling, Egwene had already downed the bird with her own and grinned at him unsteadily. The flock flew overhead once they reached the trees, and Egwene wondered if they'd been seen. Elias assured her that if they'd been seen, the flock would have descended upon them like the fox. He told them to keep their slings ready. They could be useful again. Elias led them westward from their original path, keeping a steady progress of running to the next hill, wait for the ravens to pass, then run to the next. The youths began to flag under the jerky pace. Perrin's chest heaved and he gulped for air. A dozen times they barely reached cover before the sky darkened with wings. Sweat rolled down Perrin's face despite the cold wind, and he'd lost count of the stragglers they brought down with their slings. They saw more evidence to justify their fear. Rabbits, more foxes, other birds, all torn to pieces, limbs, eyes and entrails strewn about. Perrin recalled what Lan had told them, about the Dark One's minions delighting in killing. He became aware that the wolves had encountered ravens to the north, who dived down at them, beaks drawing blood. Snarling, the wolves dodged and leapt, snapping at them again and again. Perrin could taste blood and feathers in his own mouth, and felt the pain of multiple gashes all over his body as if it was his own. Wind licked at a puncture on his left foreleg, and something was wrong with one of Hopper's eyes. Ignoring her own pain, Dapple gathered the pack together and headed back to the humans. "We come. Danger comes before us." Perrin exchanged a look with Elias, the man's yellow eyes boring into him, waiting for Perrin to admit that he sensed the wolves too. Reluctantly, Perrin panted that the ravens were behind them, and Egwene breathed, "He was right. You can talk to them." Perrin felt that her eyes accused him of being tainted and cursed. For a brief time he took a turn on Bella when his legs struggled to keep him upright, as Egwene ran, gripping the stirrup for support and holding up her skirts. When he'd caught his breath, he had to pick the girl up to make her take his place. Elias would not slow their pace, urging and taunting them to keep going, reminding them of the fox, making Egwene vomit from the saddle. The ravens behind were gaining on them quickly, and Perrin tried to ask the wolves how close they were. The wolves had little notion of time the way men did. The passing of seasons were enough for them. What he could work out from them was that they had about an hour, while sunset was still 2 hours away. He kept thinking they would die slaughtered like the fox. He fingered his axe and blinked away hot tears. When the time came, would he have the courage when the ravens descended and all hope was gone? Would he have the courage to spare Egwene the death the fox had suffered? And he prayed to the light to make him strong. The ravens seemed to disappear, and abruptly a chill ran through him, like he jumped into the Winespring River in midwinter. It seemed to carry away some of his fatigue and ache in his legs. It felt like it left something behind, but couldn't say what, only that he felt different. Elias was watching for their reactions as Egwene reined in Bella, saying, "It's strange. I feel like I've lost something." Perrin asked what that was, and Elias cackled, "Safety! That's what! We made it, you bloody fools! No raven will cross that line, not one that's used as the Dark One's eyes. A Trolloc would have to be driven across, and even a murderer would need pushing from something fierce. No Aes Sedai either. The one power won't work here. They can't touch the true source, can't even feel it. Like it vanished. Makes them itch inside, gives them the shakes like a 7-day drunk. It's safety." To Perrin, the land appeared unchanged, until he saw the first green shoots he'd seen since the long winter began. Egwene asked what the place was, and is told it's an abandoned steading. It was lost to the Ogier 3,000 years ago during the break-in. Perrin muttered that they were only legends, places in stories to hide from Aes Sedai and Shadowspawn. Elias mocked him, saying they should move deeper into the legend. But Perrin asked him why go any further. They were safe now, and he wondered if the wolves could enter. Elias told him he knows of a better place to camp, near the only source of water for miles. Unfortunately, it's known to men who have no issue on entering, but they'll take their chance that ravens is all they'll have to deal with. They came to a pool and Perrin plunged his head into it, spraying Egwene when he shook his head. She smiled and smashed him back, but he soon sobered as he recalled his thoughts of using his axe to spare her. She was cheerful as they made camp, but Perrin stayed silent, refusing to meet her eyes. All he could think was they'd be dead if not for the steading. Would he have done it? Would he have saved her, cut her down? He retreated into the dark of his mind. Elias broke his rule on campfires, and Perrin saw that this was a frequently used campsite. Egwene remarked that a large rock formation looked like it had an eye, and Elias shocked them when he said, "It is! Arthur Hawkwind's eye, the High King himself." When the youths asked why it would be carved out here, Elias commented on what farmers are taught these days, then explained, "Arthur Paindrag Tanrail Hawkwyn, the High King, united the lands from the Great Blight to the Sea of Storms, from the Arif Ocean to the Aiel Waste. He even sent an army beyond the Arif Ocean. He ruled almost the entire land, and brought peace and justice with fire and sword. All stood equal in the law, and no man raised a hand to another. A child could have a bag of gold and ride the breadth of the land without a moment of fear. He laid a 20-year siege on Tar Valon and put a price of 1,000 gold coins on the head of every Aes Sedai. He was a proud fool. An Aes Sedai healer could have saved him when he took sick, or poisoned as some said, but every Aes Sedai was penned up behind the shining walls, using all their power to hold off an army that lit the night with its campfires. He wouldn't have let one near him anyway. He hated them as much as the Dark One. The people loved him, though, and he planned for his new capital right here on this steading, where no Aes Sedai could channel. The people built a monument here, a great statue of the High King, and the city was to rise around it. Arthur Hawkwing died the day the statue was finished. His sons and the rest of his blood fought over who would sit on his throne. They all died except for those who sailed with the armies. Those who were left could not bear any reminder of him, burning books just for mentioning him. All that's left are the stories, and most are wrong. It was the beginning of the War of the 100 Years. Actually, it lasted 123 years. Many got parts of the land, but no one got the whole, and during this time the statue was toppled. Egwene remarked that he sounded like he despised and admired him, but Elias only told her to finish her tea before sleep. Perrin found that the shadows made the eye resemble a raven's, and wished they were sleeping elsewhere.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share and subscribe and help get a new channel off the ground. Thank you.